what do you believe was the true unlock for you from not having a certain amount of money to it becoming an abundance?
I think it was when I was younger, when I didn't have any money and I was out trying to conquer things. And I was having, you know, lots of thoughts about what is it all for? What does it all mean? When I was growing up, I was like, oh gosh, what are they going to do with the money? Buy another car and drive their kids to school? Like, what is use of it, right? For me, it was all about the girls and the parties and stuff like that. Things that a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, or 22-year-old would think. But, you know, the more I thought about it, and books I read, like Your Money or Your Life, which was a very influential book for me, the money wasn't the goal. The life was the goal. Mm-hmm. The fulfillment was the goal. And so once I realized...
Money was the tool.
Yes. Money is, it's like hammers and saws, right? Like you can keep buying hammers and saws, you can go to the hardware store, but the hardware store, the tools that you get out of there, that's not the goal. The goal is the house and the things you build, right? And so money is the tool to build your life, right? To give you the experiences you want with your friends, or hedonistic or charitable. It doesn't matter the type of experience. It's just money is just one of those tools in your toolkit. And so once I started to think about that I wanted to have an adventurous life, a life with scars, a life with mistakes, a life with risks. You know, money had its place, right, in building the life that I wanted. And so I think that's when I started to unlock kind of my fearlessness, my risk-taking. I'll go anywhere to try and acquire this tool to build the life I want, but really it's about building the life I want and, you know, trying to figure out what kind of life I want. You know, like, you know, a lot of times I think I'm building the life I want, but it was really what was advertised to me. You know, you're young, you're impressionable. It's like, oh, I want my life to look like a rap video, or I want my life to look like this, right? And then I do it and I'm just like, oh, this is not really me. This is not really fulfilling to me. And so I've had many journeys about what will fulfill me and what the money's for. But ultimately, it's just one variable out of what I would call the three variables: your wealth, your health, and your time. Like, how do I allocate those resources, right, over my life to get the most fulfilling life? And so I think a lot of people look at money as the goal, and it's not even close to the goal, right? The goal is a fulfilling life.
And so is there a calculation or a formula on how to develop a fulfilling life where money is a part of that equation?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's like a formula, like do this, multiply by that, X, Y, and Z, but there are mental models, right? Like how to think about it. Like what the first unlock is like, what tools, you know, I'm in this organic spacesuit, right? And I have a finite time here on Earth. What tools are at my disposal, right? Well, I got my health, right? But this spacesuit is going to decay and die, right? So that's how much time I got, my health. And there are things I can do. There's many great books, many great authors and things you can do to maintain this spacesuit as long as you can and and be healthy, right? There's time and time management, and mainly the time to the grave, but also the time in between seasons of your life, right? Because as you start to pick out the experiences you want to have in your life, they kind of obviate other experiences. You know, I use very crass examples. Like the time to be going out to the clubs and dancing with glow sticks is probably before you get married and have kids.
Right.
And so if in your life, over the totality of your life, you want to have that experience, it probably goes into a time bucket pre-marriage, right? Not after marriage, in order for you to get the maximum fulfillment score.
Right.
And then the spending of money, right? Like when I go to work, I try my best to attribute what am I working for, right? What is the money for?
What do you think about when you're doing that then?
Well, I think about one, survival and the lifestyle that I have, the things that I normally think I'm going to be doing for now until the day I die. But I think about the activities, how they will change as my life changes, right? I mean,
give me some examples in the last 5 years to where it'll be different 5 years from now.
The going to the club and glow stick days, they're fading.
Yes.
I still go. You know, I like to be young, but they're not as like every weekend, boy, where we going? Like what's going on, right? So those dollars are spent. You know, they're pretty much useless, right? And I like hiking. I like traveling to different places and seeing different cultures. And so I do a lot of like physical activity while I'm there. You know, when I visited Paris and I was there for the summer, I used to take a leisure learning class, and I'd put my books on my back and I'd walk to class about 3 or 4 miles, and I'd walk around the city with the students, etc. I cannot do that enjoyably today.
Why not?
My back. My body's deteriorating. I can do 6 miles, like I can do it, but it's not enjoyable, right? It's not like I can't do it. It's not as enjoyable. It's not as fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
And so a trip to Paris, walking around 8 or 9 miles, my knees start hurting, a little swelling, etc. I don't get the same exact fulfillment that I did some time ago. We could just draw the line out. That's going to shrink and shrink and shrink, right? And so I know that trips that involve that type of activity, I need to be spending that money today, not in the future.
Right.
Right. And so these are the type of things, you know, I think about like, okay, the physically demanding trips and fulfilling things now, I need to be doing those now, getting those experiences under my belt now, and not be pushing them out until I'm 66, 72,
right,
81, if I make it that far.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people will look at on autopilot or not thinking about these things. They think they're going to retire one day and then their life is going to look like a carnival commercial.
And they have perfect health when they're 60.
No.
And yeah.
No. Well, I mean, even perfect health when you're 60 is a lot different than perfect health when you're 40, 50, 20, 30.
Right.
And so as your health declines naturally, the activities that you can do or that you will like change.
Right.
And so you don't need money for those experiences, right? In the future, you need them now, right? When I imagine if I'm anything like my parents and my ancestors, I'm going to enjoy just visiting grandkids, talking about the old days, etc. And so what I'm trying to do is create what I call memory dividends. Having an experience now, not only do you get enjoyment from the experience when you do it, you get a piece of that enjoyment every time you bring it up, every time you discuss it. Like, I went on this trip and this happened and we got stopped by the security guard and we had to sleep overnight and we met this other couple and it was great and we had a good time, and you tell that story and that creates another experience which also gives you joy. And so when you invest in experience, not only do you get the joy of that experience and the fulfillment of experience, but you get what I call the memory dividend every time you access that experience through your memories.
Right.
And much like investing in a bank or a stock that pays dividends, investing in experience pays a dividend. And so these mental models, right? Like, it's a lot to remember, right? Like, oh, what do? I do an experience now. I just come with a formulaic way of thinking, not a formula of like, okay, how do I think about the totality of my life? What experiences belong where, and what will be the most fulfilling for me? Money doesn't give them that. It's their personal connections, but you can make them better.
Yes.
Right? You can make them more fulfilling. You can make it easier for some of your family members. Like, oh, I live so far away, I can't afford to go. Oh, it's okay. I'll fly you.
Right.
Or I'll pay for the bus ticket.
Yes.
Right? Or I'll drive and come pick you up. Right? These are the things I think that money can't